We can clearly see from the names on this list here that people are still very interested in what I've got to say on this channel, and I will carry on doing so. I will never mention the Tartaria subject beyond this video ever again, hopefully. I will just say this on it, that the people that are looking into that subject from the 1800s, 1900s, the reason why I don't look at it is because the people from that period were digging up the sites which I've been pointing out on this channel, which is termed megalithics, right, which is a misnomer really. Okay, but this is a video that I had on my last laptop, the hard drive, which I removed, and then I started with this one about 5 years ago when I did a purge across my entire channel. I removed about, I don't know, 100 videos. This thing here, look, all this artwork you can't take at face value, right, because most of it has just been placed in there at some point in history to confuse and to push their narrative, right, but you can actually cleave some intelligence from it and probably find some gems, right, and I've been showing you how a lot of this stuff is actually wood, and they've been putting this substance over it. And when you look at this, you can actually see that it is actually built from wood, right? You can see these lats, and if you can't see on this image, I'm telling you, you need to inspect this one image closely. Because for those people that think it's wrapped in, you know, it's been encased in some wood, they're wrong. Because down here, you can actually see the hieroglyphics, which have been carved on larger lats. Because all these obelisks, right, they have like lines down them, don't they? Yeah, equally spaced, like they are actually lats. Inspect this image if you don't believe me, but all those photos where they show you them lifting huge weights with by primitive means are absolutely ridiculous, and this kind of proves that. It's not a photograph, it's a image or part of a photo. Anyway, it's just artwork. And this is the obelisk in New York. There's actually three. You know, there's one in London and New York and in Rome. And take a close look at this one, because this is wood as well. Okay, and that's actually a photograph, and that's why they're able to move it around with this wooden contraption and rest it on some wooden pallets, because they wouldn't be able to do it, because this would weigh about 500 ton if it was real. And this is some artwork you can see. That's what I mean by the lats. Okay, and there's your hieroglyphs. You can read that. Don't take much gum to it. I'm getting down to the real gist of the video, so anyway, I'll try and rush through this, but this would be impossible. So again, this is just artwork. They're trying to show you. Probably someone got hold of these photos later and thought, oh, we need to put some disinfo out there, but they're not very good at it, because you wouldn't be able to encase an obelisk this tightly if it was real stone at 500, 700 ton in a little box like this and float it on the ocean. It would sink straight to the depths. There's not enough base to it. Okay. Anyway, you need to look at that closely and ask yourself if that's real stone, or if it's something like mush that's been placed on it, because that's what I think it is. This thing is actually on the bottom. This is the one in London, and this is actually wood with some type of lacquer over it. This has not been machined. You can see how it's wobbly, it's offline. That tells you for a fact that it's wood with some type of lacquer over it. This is the one in New York, I think, is it? Well, I mean, that's the problem anyway. When you go search these, they're all over the place. You think you're looking at a specific artifact and it could be something else, but oh yeah, I suppose the top here. Okay, well, when you look down here, it's actually missing. These arrows are showing you probably this thing. Well, I mean, look at that there. It almost looks hollow inside. And then it's been closed off at some point in history. This is the main thing. This so-called thunderstorm in St. Petersburg in Russia. And the people that did this artwork were in fantasy land, right? Because us, with all our technology, we would have to put it on something like what moves the, you know, what moving the Saturn V around to do something like this is absolutely ridiculous. On sand, on soil, you know, there's a wood in background, and they think that they can pull something like this with rope just by humans beings pushing around on something like that. Get out of here. But some people will find these images and believe it, even something like this, that something this heavy would be able to float on a barge if they could even get it on there, and that a few wooden supports would hold this thing up while there's waves rolling around, right? You know, these ships operated by sail, right? Not on steam. And there's more artwork for you, pushing this narrative. But then you find stuff like this, which is probably more realistic. And this image, this paintwork, this artwork, probably is older. In fact, it was found in place, and it looks like they decided to build the entire city around this thing. They didn't drag it anywhere. But you see how big this thing is, right? Would they have carved this much material away? If you remember, it was about this big. To just carve away this tiny little rock here. No, they wouldn't. But I want you to remember this sand around here. You see all this sand, the sandbags here, enclosing all this sand here. Because I think that this is actually what this thing has got all over it. I think it's sand that gets layered on it, and they heat it up, yeah. And it's, you know, it's not almost glass, yeah. You know, it's they heat it to a point where it goes hard and forms a surface over it and looks like granite, like the stuff at the Aswan Quarry. Again, this is artwork, as if you would do all this, yeah. You know, make all this box work and get all this together. It's just garbage. Anyway, we're going to take a closer look at this now, and you will see exactly what I'm talking about. Right, can you see how the colour of these are different? Yeah. But when you look at this part here, oh yes, I'll get into this, but remember this anyway. This area here shows you, can you see how that goes like that? Well, there's one actually there, right? There. And this has been put up to it, over it, so it's like joined up with probably metal, like all this under here will be metal or wood, I'm not quite sure. But they've put this sand over it, and they heat it to a point, and it looks like this, which is the exact same stuff as the stuff at the Aswan Quarry. And they back this up by giving museums pieces like this. We've already established that this must be absolute garbage because they've got this here, right? 1770. It just makes no sense. Right, so all that sand that was enclosed in the area with those sandbags, I think even this flooring is made of the same stuff as this, exactly the same stuff. It's just that it's being walked on more, right? And it loses its surface, which is almost like glass. Yes, you see this? All that sand that was enclosing this entire area was smothered on this, heated into this surface, and then the rest made this flooring. Okay, and where that bulge is there, it actually runs into the flooring. Can you see that? This bulge here runs into this flooring. How is that possible? Because that has just proved everything I've been talking about.